Oh my gosh, I left you guys kind of hanging, and Shade was kind of hanging too, almost. Um, he was getting ready to be hung. Ty had stopped in and cut the rope just in time. Let's see. It's getting really exciting here. Let's see. I'm going to back up just a little bit. When Shade edged back to give me another inch of room, I saw that under his heavy lids the outlaw's eyes were bright. The tranquilizer hadn't affected him nearly as much as he was pretending. Above us, the elevator doors slid open. It was all the distraction I needed. As the men glanced up through the grill, I raised the jade knife. Kneel, I hissed. Instantly, Shade fell to his knees, tightening the rope that ran from his neck to the girder. I slashed at it while trying to keep my balance as Boots pounded 2 catwalks up, making the whole structure jump. Still, I sawed, acutely aware of the drop behind me. Finally, the knife broke through the last strand of rope, and Shade sprang to his feet. I spun, only to find myself looking down the barrel of a spear gun. Step aside, Ty, Doc commanded. Beside him stood Raj and Lars, their expressions suddenly worried. Bring down a judge and I will. I glanced back to see Shade step through his arms so that his hands were now tied in front of him. Son, do what Doc says before you get hurt, Lars said, sounding anxious. If he were like any other outlaw, Doc took aim at Shade, we could go by the book, but he isn't. Gemma appeared at the top of the stair ladder with Pa and Gibby on either side of her. Others crowded behind them. They wouldn't make it down the 2 stair ladders in time to stop Doc from shooting. That instant, Gemma gasped, and I sensed Shade vanish behind me. I whirled to see that he hadn't fallen. He had jumped. Now he dangled from the ragged stub of the railings still attached to the vertical strut. Writhing, he used the metal's sharp edge to saw through the rope binding his hands. Move! Doc shoved me aside, aiming the spear gun at Shade, who twisted in the air just above us. I'm sorry, just below us, because he jumped down, not up. Sorry. See. I took a deep breath and said loudly, I have a dark gift. Are you going to take away my rights? My admission rang through the saloon. All movement stopped. Ma and Pa froze on the stairs with Zoe and Hewitt clambering down behind them. The posse men I'd known all my life stared at me, and so did Doc, except that his look was triumphant, probably because he had finally gotten me to admit what he had suspected all along. With a loud snap, the rope binding Shade's wrists broke and he dropped to the floor. Everyone raced down the stairs to the saloon, except me. I wrapped a leg around the strut and slid down, beating them all. But by the time I hit the floor, Shade was nowhere to be seen. My parents were the first settlers onto the floor, and their expressions were stricken. I knew it, Ma said. She looked at Pa. I told you it didn't go away. Why did you say you couldn't do it anymore? Pa asked me. The other settlers gathered around my parents, Hewitt and Zoe, too. You would have given up the homestead, I said. Ma looked close to tears. It's just a house. The ocean is my home, Mom. Pa said, living down here isn't worth it if there's nothing wrong with me. I'm like any other kid, except I have this gift. Behind me, someone clapped, slow and steady. I turned to see Shade, the translucent dark green version, leaning against the window where he must have been all along, hidden against the backdrop of the sea. Zoe pulled herself from Pa's grasp and ran to stand next to me. She faced the settlers. I have a dark gift too, she said. I can electrocute people. She pointed proudly at Shade. I shot him. Hewitt slunk forward and looked reluctant, but he took a place next to Zoe. I have one too. Lars frowned. What? I'm a genius, Hewitt mumbled. Pa snorted. I didn't say I was mature, Hewitt said defensively, but I don't have to think to calculate. That makes you a numbers whiz, honey, Cheryl said soothingly. Lots of people have that gift. Can lots of people tell you the atmospheric pressure of any room in this building just by walking into it? Hewitt asked. Or the exact temperature of seawater by dipping in one toe? Our parents shifted. Their expressions were shock and grief. Worst of all, regret. We have to get them away from the water pressure, Ma said suddenly. If we move topside now, Cheryl said, turning to Lars, while he's still young. His gift will go away, Shade mocked. I lived topside for a year after sea blight, and I'm not fixed. That doesn't mean we should move topside, Hewitt scampered. I read that all wrong. Hold on. That doesn't mean we shouldn't move topside. Hewitt scampered over to his parents. It's worth a try. I'm not leaving the ocean, I said firmly. I'm fine. You don't know that for a fact. Ma's expression was fierce. I know it for a fact. Shade sauntered forward. We're healthier than you normal folks. Our immune systems are better. But don't believe me. Ask Doc. There's not an inch of me he didn't test. We turned to one another and saw that Doc was not among us, then looked up to see him standing in front of the elevator as the doors opened. Stop him, yelled Lars. Gemma was the only one who hadn't left the catwalk after my big announcement. As the others pounded up the first stair ladder, she finished scaling the second one and ran for the third. From the saloon floor, I watched Doc disappear into the elevator. Girl, push the button, Raj bellowed. Don't let him get away. Scrambling onto the top catwalk, Gemma paused for a split second to look down. I knew how she felt about heights, yet her fear didn't stop her. The whole structure of catwalks swayed as she ran for the catwalk, and I nearly cheered out loud. Her hand outstretched, she flung herself toward the call button, but Doc stopped long enough to seize her by the wrist and drag her into the elevator with him. No! I shouted, but the doors slid shut, with Gemma trapped inside. Oh! Seems like they're no longer after Shade, but after Doc instead. What's going to happen now that Ty and the others have admitted they have a dark gift? That's how Zoe could catch those sea creatures. She can electrocute people and things. So cool. So much to have happen. We are so close to the climax. Hang in there. We'll have this finished probably this week, I would think. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Be safe. Be kind to one another. I'll see you next time.